morning, good afternoon, good evening. It is round number 6 of season 13 in the AFR Super Formula League. I am your commentator, David Cook, for this afternoon's proceedings here at the Kalinago circuit. Of course, a fictional circuit in the Assetto Corsa universe. Going through your standings just to begin before we get the sprint server underway. It is Iceburn Stopper leading the way to Andy Park, 90 points for Stopper, 82 for Park. Then behind in third and not too far away, Johan Korolchak in with 74 points, 16 points off the lead of the race. Then, of course, here the Frenchman's focus will be on the Spaniard, more or less, on Victor Byrne at 1 point behind. So those two are probably going to have a little bit of a spat here this week. Tuki Gonzalez and Juniper Makova really in races of their own. Big points separating those two in 5th and 6th. Then from 7th to 10th is Claw, Haikalis, Captain Foxy, Lamberson, and, Lamberson rounds out your top 10. Then from 11th to 15th is Justin, Vasilios, Ali G, Cartrachurville, and Anno. Then from 16th to 20th, it is Milo, Muzol, Muck, Alhafi, and Pedroso, with your 21st driver being Priskotsky. In your constructor standings, it is currently Revolution 9 and Sentinel Racing racing each other. 16 points separating the top two. Looking like Revolution could be getting a bit of an advantage, but we'll see how this afternoon proceeds. Then, very further back, we have the fight for third even, with Arrow Autosport and Alpha Tail with Vanguard rounding out your top 5. Then from 6th to 10th is Nokiolina, Wazoo, Velo, and Royal with GKS Motorsport. And then from 11th to 13th is Sidline Rivals Racing Team, Untitled Racing Team, and then Kings Racing. From 10th to 13th, no points between them. But at the moment, we are just waiting for the sprint server to actually just get underway as of right now. I'll keep you updated, but of course, a lot to be decided. A bit of a change to things. We do not have Sarah Muffatova today in the commentary box, and we do not have our race director, Nick, for this afternoon. Just sorry about that. I just needed to talk to somebody off screen there. So, at the moment, we have got the sprint race all set up here. So, we have got Anno lining up on pole position with Lamberson second, Foxy in third, the Wazoo locking out first and third. Then it's Crow in fourth, Makova in fifth, Burnett in sixth, Park in seventh, Stopper eighth, and Fenger ninth. So, at the moment, we do not... as of right now, we do not have Korolchak with us. Now, the sprint race will be I think it's going to be either a 16 or 15-minute session, and then we will then go into what will be a 20-minute qualifying. No Super Pole this week, due to the fact we only have 9 drivers attending, so we have decided to scrap that just for this round. So it will be a straight fight for 9th to 1st. Under a 20-minute session for this time, and then of course the feature race will be about 125 kilometers, ranging at about 40 minutes at maximum. We are just currently waiting for the countdown for the sprint race to get underway. We've got Anno and Lamberson on the front row, and Anno's teammate Foxy in third position. Of course, they are the Wazoo Racing Team. Lambertson in the Vanguard Racing Team, hoping to just get some points. They are currently far behind anybody in front, looking to actually get a gap behind them. So Lamberson could even get some distance. We do have 15 minutes, it seems, for the sprint. That seems to be changing by the second. A few technical glitches here and there, but I've not seen any news as to a countdown as of right now. Well, let's see what happens. Now, usually the sprint race is a chance for the guys lower down the field to try and get a win. So Anno and Foxy will be looking to take advantage of this. But, of course, faster drivers behind aren't too far away, such as Park and Stopper, of course, those two fighting for a championship. And then Fenger behind in 9th as well. I do believe Fenger is one of the slower drivers in this league. But, again, I could be proven very wrong very, very quickly. We'll soon find out, but here we go. The lights have come up on the screen, so that means we are not too far away. And there we go. We have 3, 4, 5, 6 red lights. It's... Oh goodness. Thank you very much, Sarah. And Anno makes a mistake right off the line, but it's going Kalinago. Lambertson around the outside of Captain Foxy into turn 1, then coming into turn 2. They are still side by side. There's another spin there. There's all sorts of contact across the top 9 there. But it's Lambertson taking the lead of the race after Anno made a mistake off the start. Sorry for missing that. Thank you to Sarah Mulfitova for pointing out that we were not on the right scene there. And Fenger, well, after having a good start, has been pushed all the way down to 9th. But Lambertson still leading the way. But Foxy not too far behind, under 0.2 of a second. And now looking to the inside, round this corner. Can he get it done? Wasn't alongside enough. Bernat now in 3rd as well. Stopper in 4th. So looks like these two will eventually lose out to the cars behind. But could it be just a case of sooner rather than later? Let's find out. 14-minute, well, a minute has now elapsed, 14 to go. And there's Burnout, of course, clearly faster than Captain Foxy on this occasion. Foxy goes to the inside to defend, but doesn't try too hard. Sees that, well, I say that, and then all of a sudden it gets a bit tighter once we make the breaking point. And both using the push to pass here, well, Foxy actually decided to save it. Of course, all drivers are given 10 opportunities for push to pass, and now Stopper is making a move on the Razoo racing car, and Foxy starts 2nd, now down to 4th, but of course that's what we expected with Stopper and Park being so close to the front runners, but nearly 3 wide going into the corner. There's Park in the background making a move on Captain Foxy through the final corner. Those cars go, and Stopper is now side by side with Victor Bernat. Bernat's going to have the inside into the first turn here and gets it done. And that's good. Oh, but there's contact between them. Victor Stopper is forced round, but gets it underway. Makova goes wide in the background there into turn 2. And there we go. That is all said and done for now. But somehow Foxy and all that still in 5th place, but he's surely going to lose out there as Park pushes the Wazoo car off the track there. Anno, after that mistake off the first lap, well, at the start, is now in 7th and is 3 seconds behind Makova. Not sure if he's going to be able to catch that up, but we'll keep an eye on that. With all that chaos now, it is Lambertson still somehow in the lead of this race. He has done an absolutely fantastic job. Bit wide through there, though. And he is at the moment not, well, he's probably going to be caught, but he's going to make a fight of it. But all of a sudden, Makova has caught up to Foxy momentarily, makes the move for 5th place, running a special livery this afternoon. And now Foxy trying to fight back on Juniper, has done so successfully so far. Both a little tail happy at the exit. Oh, but contact between them! Oh, drama! Between Makova running the special livery, Foxy trying to get a good result, and they both make contact with one another, both forced to the pits. They're out of the race, unfortunately. I don't know if they're actually going to make any further moves. Is Park? No, that's not Park. I can guarantee that free. That is Park there. That is, of course, commenting for the fastest lap. Victor Bernat and Stopper now go side by side. Makova DNFs. So she will be taking no further part in this race. Unfortunate for Makova. She will at least come back for qualifying, as now Bernat trying to go down the inside of Stopper. Sprint race giving us a lot of drama here. And as of right now, Crow has also just gone and made a mistake there. That's through turns 1 and 2 there. Of course, both fast left-handers there. Double left-hander, kind of reminiscent of the double right-handers back in Sepang, Malaysia. Here we go. Now we are now looking at a battle for the lead. Andy Park currently 4/10 behind Lambertson. They got very close just a few moments ago, but just decided to back out. Of course, these cars do produce dirty air due to their reliance on downforce. So that will be, of course, something to think about as their tyres will overheat. Not really necessary to make a pit stop. But Park around the outside of Lambertson. Can he make that work? No, not quite, but they both use push to pass on the exit of the corner, but Lambertson with that inside line should hold on to that, but that looked actually like a high downforce corner, so Andy Park might still be there. Has the momentum outside of Lambertson, and we have a new leader of the race, but Lambertson doesn't want to give that up. He's still side by side and now has to defend from Stopper coming in behind. 3 wide into the final corner. Here we go. Park is forced off the track. And now gains a bit of an advantage after all of that. Lambertson now relegated to third after leading, and now he's under pressure from Bernat behind. Does he get that done? Bernat around the outside, gets that done. Park down the inside of Stopper, leads the race. And now the complex changes. We have our championship rivals has got word from Sarah that Johan Kralchek is not turning up. So this is a great advantage for Victor just to try and see if he can just get some sort of a cushion over the French driver during this afternoon. We already have 9.5 minutes to go. Fenger and Anno have just got into a battle with one another. Fenger going up into 5th place and Anno already 1.8 seconds behind the driver in front there. But of course, as we've just announced, Park and Stopper and Bernat as well making their way through the 9-car field. And of course, Makova, the only DNF so far due to contact with Captain Foxy. We do have Sarah with us in the commentary box now. We've finally got a bit of calm before the storm. I'm not sure if she's going to be speaking throughout this broadcast, but she will be here just enjoying things from a spectator's point of view. At the moment here, the top 3 are separated by under a second, so this could become a very exciting 8.5 minutes just over to come. Bernat under 2/10 of a, just under now, 2/10 of a second going through the final corner, goes left, has to go right and left to try and find a way to put Stopper off of their line, as Andy Park sets the fastest lap of a 1:35.566 there. So Andy Park so far with the fastest lap. No real surprise there, if we're being honest. And now he's got just broken the 1 second barrier to the cars behind. Of course, these cars do not use DRS. Their rear wings do not open up. It is, of course, the push to pass, which gives you a 2.5% fuel flow increase, not necessarily a BHP increase. But Anno, as you can see there on your screen, has a 3-second penalty for track limit violations there. So we'll have to add that onto his time. His race with Fenger is done, so it's just going to worry about Crow behind. But a miserable sprint race for the Wazoo racing team. But Lambertson will be happy, I think, with how this has gone so far. Though he was leading after Anno's mistake at the start of the sprint, it will mean that, well, he is currently 4th place, and that's going to be good for him just to climb up the table with a few points in hand there, as now Stopper is using some push to pass to defend from Bernat behind. Oh no, that is not what you want to do there. A bit tail happy there from Stopper on the exit of the corner. And that means now, surely, that might have given Bernat just a bit of a window to try and catch up and look for a move in these next couple of corners. Not quite close enough, but he'll have the slipstream and he'll have the momentum. Stopper to the inside, defending from Victor Bernat. Bernat has to go to the outside. He's going to try the cutback through the final corner. It is possible. Stopper goes very wide there. And, well, that shows you the pressure that they are under. So here we go. But Bernat not close enough to have a go into turn 1, and he did so around the outside for the very place he has come up to, 3rd. But not close enough to do it that time. And while they've been battling, Park has been allowed to get away. 3 seconds separate these two battling now. Bernat trying to find the outside yet again, but no real place to do it, as Stopper hugs that inside apex like it's his best friend. And as to now relinquish the has to relinquish any sort of battle to his championship rival ahead. He's probably going to sacrifice the sprint race so that he can try again through qualifying and then the feature. Of course, like we said earlier on, no Super Pole qualifying due to the fact we only have 9 drivers racing this afternoon. But of course, Makova will be very upset, I would imagine. Had contact with Captain Foxy earlier on, and running a special livery this afternoon in... Of course, I won't talk about it too much. I don't know if I'm allowed to announce it on stream. I didn't actually ask there, but whoa, Bernat there having a bit of a moment there on the exit of that corner. Still within 1 second to Stopper, but now I think that gap is going to sort of decrease, well, kind of just start to ebb out now. Stopper is not under as much pressure Bernat will have to hope that Stopper makes a mistake this time around. Well, next time around, as Anno has had another moment, and he's gone off there, and he gets pointing in the right direction. No need for any sort of stop in the race, but now surely he's going to be worrying extra hard now about Crow behind. We'll keep an eye on that gap as that begins to settle itself down. Looking like it's at just under 5 seconds. It indeed is, and Anno using a stint to push to pass as well. Well, no surprises. It's Makova and Foxy with the most push to pass. Of course, they haven't really been involved with the race since they both made contact earlier on. Go for it. Oh, Juniper giving me permission here. So Juniper running a special livery for their friend that they lost a couple of weeks ago. Of course, she'll be very upset at the fact that wasn't able to get much further into the race, but still has qualifying and a feature race to come around. As Anno again with another mistake has parked up fully. That might mean his engine, and yes, practically our third DNF, Anno. So now from 9 to 6, and it looks like Bernat is just kind of consolidating third place, realizes that his fight isn't really with Park and Stopper, and Park has gone way further down the road. He is currently leading by over 3 seconds, and that, of course, was allowed to happen thanks to Stopper and Bernat just trying to get just trying to kind of defend and attack through one another. So that has, that's now allowed the gap to increase. But of course, we are now in the final few moments of the sprint. We've had over a third of the race gone. We're about to have 4/5 of our race completed once we reach the 3-minute mark. And then, well, we'll be looking at closing out what's going on. But hang on a minute, let's see, because the gap has just decreased slightly from Park to Stopper there. Looks like about half a second was taken out there, so maybe Stopper has got something in the tank still. To Andy Park, and the gap now at 2.6 seconds. So despite all that fighting with Bernat, has Stopper been able to look after those tyres better than his championship rival? Let's see what happens as these 3 minutes come to a close. It will have to be about a second a minute. So let's see, as the lap progresses, if Stopper can match that. 3 minutes to go here in Kalinago. And let's see what Stopper or Park can do under these circumstances. Park should be able to just hold it off, but of course, don't count Stopper out. He is leading the championship by 8 points for a reason. And we are soon going to see if he can catch up, or will Park hang on. But gap's now starting to kind of gather up now, as Stopper using his 7th push to pass so far this afternoon. 3.2 seconds separating him from Victor Bernat now. 2.3 separating him from the lead of the race. And you know what? That 1 second a minute is looking likely, but I don't think it's just gonna be enough. I think he could have used with another minute, and he would be right on the back of Andy Park, but I just don't see that happening as of right now with 2 minutes to go still. As Iceman Stopper, though, with the fastest lap of the race there, 1:34.973. So knocks out Andy Park's best lap by 0.6 of a second, but then a bit of a mistake through the second corner there, sliding the car around. I think that's going to bring things to a crushing end there. So it's Andy Park now looking likely to take the win in this sprint. Of course, we still have a 20-minute qualifying session, and then a feature race of 125 kilometers or 40 minutes, which depending on which one comes first, to come your way. So it's not necessarily game over. Once this sprint is complete, there will be another opportunity, especially for our 3 non-finishers of Anno, Makova, and Foxy, just to have another bite at the cherry, as we now conclude the sprint. Just over a minute to go. Some drivers really taking the white line as more of an advisory rather than a than an entire written rule. Some have gone over that. Don't know if that's going to be looked into by the stewards or not, depending on how the track limits works here. But more importantly, with just under a minute to go, we have got Andy Park looking to secure the win. 3 seconds separating him from his championship rival. So a bit of ground gained in the championship, crucially for the Alpha Tail driver. And Stopper, yeah, just kind of solidifying second place there. 3.2 seconds separating him from his rival in front. But then, of course, to the one behind, well, Victor Bernat will be happy with this. Is battling for third place in the championship against Johan Korolchak. Of course, Korolchak unable to show up this time around, so looking to gain some ground and just get a bit of a cushion over the French driver, and is doing a very good job of that so far. We are now on the final lap. Andy Park, absolutely faultless. And with now the seconds ticking away, we will, of course, bring the session to a close once this lap has been completed. And there you go. There's the confirmation. Right flag. So leaders are on the final lap. Only 6 cars finishing in the sprint after Anno's several mistakes meant that he had to go to the pits, teleport to the pits. And then, of course, Makova and Foxy making contact earlier in the race. Makova, of course, are running a special livery like we alluded to earlier. But Andy Park now making his way through the final few corners now. He'll be ticking down the numbers as he comes to the line. Of course, missed out on the championship last season, but he's having a good go of it this season. And there's nothing to separate him and Stopper. This could go down to the final round very easily. Victor Bernat uses all of his push to pass, as does Park. Stopper still has one in hand, but with 3 seconds and 1 more corner to go, no way Andy Park will be caught at this point, unless if he cuts the corner rather dramatically. He doesn't. He keeps it within the white lines, and Andy Park will come home winner of the sprint race at Kalinago. Stopper will take 2nd place. Victor Bernat, looking to solidify 3rd place this afternoon, gets 3rd place in the sprint, and Lamberson will come home in 4th position. And Fenger having a quiet race in all things considered, but gets him home for a top 5. But in order to finish first, sometimes you just have to finish, and he has done exactly that this afternoon in the sprint, and so qualifying the feature to come, 5th place for him for now. But Crow in the other Vanguard Racing team, good haul of points for them. Just kind of finishing ahead of the 3 drivers. Sometimes, yep, you just need to keep it out the wall, and that's just the difference it makes. Crow and Fenger, good drives for them. Very quiet after a certain point. I think they will have just had some fun with that. But that is now 6th place for Crow, and that concludes the sprint race running. Of course, like we said as well, Anno, Makova, and Foxy, your only DNFs this sprint. But a qualifying session 2 now. So now, with sprint race all concluded, we are now going to go into the qualifying session. 20 minutes, of course, we will have to make way, but what is important is just as I see a message there pop up for me, but at the moment now, we, of course, like I said before, 20-minute race here in AFR. We are currently live in Kalinago. Of course, a fictional track within Assetto Corsa doesn't actually exist. Yeah, no, it's provided some good racing so far. Kalinago, as I'm corrected by Sarah in our little chat. Thank you very much there, Sarah. But anyway, 6 drivers finishing that one. We will, of course, go to our... I think I've got the sponsor in here. Let me just have a little check. I do not. So... of course, the streams are sponsored by NordVPN, and of course, our affiliate, Moser, as well. Thank you very much for both of your support over, over these past few seasons, and as well as allowing us to help run these broadcasts, and of course, run these races. So, anyway, I think I do have to leave the server. Yes, of course, you can see the NordVPN car, as rightfully pointed out, but I will have to just kind of take a bit of leave here and go onto the calendar yet again, of course, round 6 here in Kalinago. And we will, so, well, just to go through the rest of the season as well, we do have Spain next, in 2 weeks' time. Don't think I'll be with you for that one, as I will be scheduled to be in work, so that's why you've not heard from me consistently over these past few weeks. Then, of course, we are off to Indianapolis on the 22nd of June. And then for the 6th of July, it's the Las Vegas circuit, followed by the finale in Suzuka, of course, Japan being the being the origin of Super Formula, which started out as Formula Nippon. So let's see if the server has been restarted, and then we'll get... I promise you, I will remember to actually get the feed back on. You might... I don't know. I've heard there's been problems with sound, so let me just see if I can just fix that for you really quickly. So I do apologize if you've had no sound during the first sprint race there. And... let's see what's going on at the moment. Server has not been restarted, so we are just waiting for things to just get back underway. But for now, we're just going to go take a quick little break. We'll leave the calendar on screen there for you, and we will be back as soon as possible. Don't go anywhere. Still more action to come here in AFR. Welcome back. In a brief few minutes there just to get everything ready, but we are now good to go for qualifying. So once that little red rectangle becomes green, all the drivers will be allowed to go for their qualifying stints. Of course, we do have 9 drivers here, so there is no super pole for us this afternoon. Just going to just do a little bit of a favor for a potential co-commentator that might be with us or not, depending on how certain things work out. They might need to just go away and do some personal chores just for today. But of course it is, I think that is Stopper at the front of the line, but I could be wrong there. Let's just have a quick check. That is definitely not. So that looks to be Charlie Lambersten at the front of the line there. Indeed is green. We are green. And Charlie is not moving. Wonder what's going on here. Has Charlie stepped away? No, we're still red. I'm not sure. Hang on a minute. I don't know what's going on anymore. When are we gonna go? I thought we were green for a hot minute there, but evidently not. The red square, red rectangle even, beg your pardon, still there on your screen. As I'm now starting to see somebody have a bit of a moment in the pits there, probably just having a bit of fun. They teleport back. And, well, we'll just go again. But cue there. So we should be underway at 17 minutes. No, we're still waiting for the light to change from red to green. Are we having some issues here? I don't know. I thought we would be underway by now. Evidently not. Even with seeing car just reversed down the pit lane there. Of course, that's not usually allowed. But I think we can. I hope an exception can be made on this one occasion. Of course, just want to let you know that if you're not hearing a familiar voice of the race director, Nick, unfortunately the TeamSpeak server is down, and of course, Nick is currently away in Pizza Country, aka Italy. So at the moment, he is not with us, probably just watching as a spectator. It's probably not been... Quali will start at 15 minutes, so there we go. Skill issue on our part. Quali will start at the 15-minute mark instead. So that's where I thought we were having a bit of an issue there. So in the end, we're not going to have a 20-minute quali. We will have a 15-minute quali. But of course, like I said before, just without the super pole due to the amount of drivers here that have attended for this afternoon's AFR race. But round 6 here at Kalinago. And we are soon going to be underway for a 15-minute qualification. It will be to decide places first through 9th. More than likely, it will be park or stopper on the top, well, on pole position. And more than likely battling for the top step. Of course, 1 mandatory stop, 2 change tyres, no refueling allowed. Oh, then again, I think refueling is allowed. But then again, I will have to double check that to see if I can get an answer on that. If anybody can tell me in chat. We'll soon have to see. But anyway, not too far away now. 3, 2, 1. And qualifying is go. And here we are. Lamberson first out of the pits here. Go, go, go. As advised by the race director. So Lamberson will lead the field out for the first flying laps of the session. Oh, well, there you go. It is an absolute traffic jam on the exit of the pit lane. Foxy, Crow, Stopper, Fenger, Anno eventually making his way out a bit later, decided to avoid things. There's, oh, Makova and Foxy have a moment again. Oh, dearie me. Was that deliberate? We didn't see what happened there. And Captain Foxy is disqualified for teleporting, so he'll start... from what I believe, will be last position. Makova has yet more drama. Andy Park has parked up. Is he having issues now? Remember, a couple of weeks ago, Magny Cause had issues. Oh no, was just letting somebody by, I think, as Stopper has not begun a flying lap yet. But it's going to be doing so in a few moments' time. As here we go, we're in the latter sections of the track now. Just trying to gather where we are. So this is turn number 16 here. Yes, it is. Then through 17. And then, of course, the left-hander of turn 18, which is just at the front of your frame now. And then Stopper will begin the flying lap, of course. We expect him or Park to be at the top step of... Well, sorry, top step of the podium. Pole position. So here we go. Final corner now. 19 corner track. And here we go. We are going to go on board with the first driver to set a lap this afternoon. Right hand, left, double left-hander through here. Reminiscent of a mirrored Singapore, sorry, Malaysia Sepang circuit here. As there you go. Non-representative times coming in, but stop at top of the boards as of right now. But just on outlaps alone. Slow corner through here there. Just get yourself set up correctly as it's now an S section through there. And actually... because looking at the track on board, it is a very narrow circuit, at least in this part. No real chances for overtaking. And so here we go, heavy braking point now of turn number 15, that is. As we go under the overtake logo there. Now approaching turn 16 through here. Oh no, this is not turn 16. In fact, I am completely lost on my track map here. So unfortunately, I do not have the accurate track map, it would seem. But at the moment, Anno has actually topped the outlaps with a 4:49.482. But here we go. Now I know where we are. This is indeed turn number 15 through here. And now, with just over 12 minutes to go, the right-hander of 16 here. Now going through 17. Of course, this small kink does count for a turn number, as does turn 18. Of course, this is DRS zone number 1, but of course, remember, as we alluded to earlier in the sprint, these cars do not use DRS hitters. Of course, they push the power system, which increases fuel flow by about 2.5% there. And here we go, turn number 19 now, start finish straight. What's the time on the board? That's a 1:35.204 from Stopper in There you go, from Stopper. And there you go, Crow now across the line. Second there, 136.5. Expect that to be beaten as Lambertson with a 137.3. Expect these times just to come down as the session goes through. But, of course, Andy Park will be the one that we are wondering about. But Makova behind there, none of the liveries have loaded up. So I do apologize if your livery isn't being represented as of right now. Unfortunately, I just loaded in the session and they just haven't come through. But 11 minutes have elapsed in the session. Well, sorry, no. We have got 4 minutes about to elapse in the session. And as of right now, it is Stopper on top. But, of course, Park and Makova yet to set their laps. So here we go. Final corner of turn 19 for Juniper. What can she do? Non-representative time as of right now, so I believe this will be her genuine final lap. As for Andy Park as well, no time on the board. We saw him going slow on his previous lap, just probably a warm-up lap, and now he's putting pedal to the metal. 10.5 minutes to go, just about. Making his way through this S section here of 11 and 12. Now here we go, the left-hander of 13 through to 14 here. And we'll be approaching... Well, it's approaching the timing beam of Sector 2, that white line there. And then it's the heavy braking point of turn 15. Very slow corner through there. But then, of course, turn 16, which is just a short sprint through here. Stopper into the pits for tyre replacement and refueling. We now have 10 minutes to go in the session. At the moment, Stopper has not been beat. But, of course, we have not seen the time from Andy Park as of right now. And here we go, he's just approaching the final corner now of turn 19. Slow right-hander, but it's straight to the pits. No time on the board at the moment for Park, so he's just going to go in, reset, recharge, refuel, change tyres, and then go again. As Anno now with a 138.178. 5th place for the Wazoo driver. Of course, his teammate involved in contact, teleports to the pits. And I will not be taking any further part, so he will start, as of things stand right now, 9th place on the grid. At the moment, though, thanks to going into the pits, we don't have represented time, but Juniper Makova across the line there, 136.729, 4th position for the driver, who is, I promise, running a livery, but unfortunately, that just hasn't loaded in properly, so I do apologize to the drivers there. Of course, I can't see the hard work. A lot of work does go into the liveries that are around here, so of course it is a shame that we cannot see them this afternoon. But at the moment it looks like it's a very tight battle for second place. Crow on a flying lap is just under a 10th ahead of Lamberston, who is just going, well, he's actually not too far behind the second place driver at the moment. And Crow straight into the pits. We've been seeing that a lot recently, so I'm just wondering if there's a certain tactic that we are not privy to as of right now, as also Lambertson follows in to the pits. Bernat has also not set a time. He's remained in the pits throughout the session. Anna is currently on a personal best, but isn't setting representatives to the pole time, so he can probably improve on his 138.0. See what he can do, but he's going to go straight into the pits. Of course he is. And into the gravel trap for the Wazoo driver as he hits the barrier there. You don't really want to be doing that. Andy Park is on a flying lap, so let's see where he is. He's currently on an outlap as well. Victor Bernat, speak of the Spaniard, and then he will arrive. But that makes his way out of the pit lane and through turn 2, of course. Pit exit is a bit suspect. You just have to be careful when making your way out. Park at the moment warming up for his lap as Makova, as Anna is disqualified for teleporting. So both Wazoo cars get disqualified from qualifying for the same reason, and with 7.5 minutes to go, what can Andy Park do? He's approaching turns 1 and 2 now. Looking okay so far, carrying the momentum through both corners, but it looks like an exit curb just kind of like to just unsettle the car there. You saw the rear end getting a little loose as Andy tried to apply the power through there, but looks like he got it all under control. Might have lost a 10th there, just based on the fact he would have lost momentum on the exit of the corner. As we now go through this snaky section, this covers turns 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then, of course, turn 10 being this right-hander. And Andy Park sets a session best, so he is at the moment ahead of Stopper by nearly 1.5 tenths. This could be a very good lap from the championship rival of Stopper. Andy started 8 points behind, but all of a sudden that's become 6,000. So Stopper on a lap and improving on his personal best, but isn't beating Andy. Andy behind there by nearly 300ths of a second now. So can Stopper improve on that as now we go through turn 16, 17, of course, that tiny kick, which is flat, and then 18 as well. Andy Park is approaching the end of his lap and is looking like he could go to pole, but it needs to be a magical sector 3 here for that to be a possibility. Final corner now for Park. Heavy braking, a bit loose there on the entry. Gets it all gathered up for the exit. Let's see, what is the time? Second place. It was in the end 3.5 tenths back for Andy Park. But what about Stopper? Half a second behind in sector 1. So who is actually improving then? Somebody behind is improving. Is it Victor Bernat? Don't think it is. But that would make the most sense considering what we saw on the timing boards. Currently going through the snake section of 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And is now approaching what should be... Well, I thought it was. No, that was 11 and 12. So he's actually approaching 13, 14, and now coming into turn 15 through here. This slow right-hander. Not giving drivers too much of a challenge, but of course you just got to control your right foot and make sure you apply the throttle correctly. Victor Bernat in 8th with a non-representative time, but he'll be more than likely to beat this considering the pace that he is showing so far on his lap. Now, final couple of corners for the Spanish driver. Turn 18 there, that small little kick now approaching the slow final corner of turn 19. How does he attack this? A bit wide from the apex, but that should give him the best exit as we see somebody strolling off in the distance. Victor Bernat to 4th, but Sebastian Crow to 3rd place as Stopper has come to a halt on the pit exit, of course, just allowing one of the drivers through. But Andy Park is improving on the session best again, so whatever mistake he made will not matter because he is now coming right into the pits. I think he might be a bit frustrated with that as now that very same pedestrian... I'm going to cut to another camera angle so that we're not distracted by that. At the moment now, it's still Stopper on top. He is currently on an outlap, so he'll be getting ready to go for another fly. And if he could get to the 134s, I think he would be safe in terms of pole position. I don't think that's going to go any other way. But just keeping an eye on the drivers. Fenger just having a bit of a moment there. Oh, what is the exit of turn 10 there? Now approaching 11 and 12. Indeed, he is. Oh, very wide through there. Tried to take it flat, I think. But I think that's going to be a cancellation on that lap. Let's check out what Makova is up to. She looks to have just started a flying lap herself. So let's see. Currently, 1.5 tenths up on her personal best. Wouldn't be a positional improvement as of right now. But she's going to now make her way towards the snakes, or what goes through turns 5 to 9. Bit wide there on the exit, but it looks like that's actually done her a bit of good according to the live delta on the right-hand side there. Remember, that green means that she is improving. And Makova there making it stick, unlike we saw Fenger do a couple of moments ago. 3 minutes to go in the session, so if you want to set your final flying laps, you might have to do it now. It is only Sebastian Crow who is in 3rd place into the pits. As we are now seeing Makova go through the slow turn of 15, now through 16, flat through here, not as sharp of a turn, and it's easy to carry with the downforce through the corner. And actually, 6 tenths improvement for Makova and 1.5 tenths off the leading time in sector 2. So this is a really good lap from Juniper here as she approaches turn number 19 now, gets that car turned in. Doesn't look like many drivers want to hit that apex, but you get the best momentum. That's 4th place and an impressive lap from Juniper there. But who has got anything in response? Victor Bernat down on his personal best, but that looked really aggressive through turns 10 and 11. And at the moment now, is, well, could be improving there, but of course we don't have the best representative time there on the right-hand side, but there we go. Up on his personal best through sector 2, and that improvement looked to have come through turns 10 and 11. The car really looked put together there. So this could be a good lap from the Spaniard here, as now he goes through 17 and 18, of course, flat through here, and then, of course, we come to a stop for turn 19. 1.5 minutes to go just over, so it could mean this could be his second to last flying lap. But does he have enough in the tank for a second flyer? We don't know. Guess that car really turned in. And that's actually the best I've seen that corner been taken so far. Third place for Victor Bernat. No surprise there. Just under 0.8 of a second to pole position there. And in fact, Victor Bernat's going to call it a day. And so he'll be happy with third. But here we go. Sebastian will go on to a final flying lap. We'll keep an eye on how that goes. So Lambertson with a mistake there or something. But I think he was just completing his final flying lap. We are now seeing Fenger complete a lap with under a minute to go. Where are Stopper and Park? Park is actually completing a flyer, but is down on his personal best, but is about 1.5, well, just under 1.5 tenths away in Sector 2, but nearly 2 tenths away from pole in Sector 1. So not been the best lap. He might have one more if he decides to take a guess. That car turned in, uses the curb. And that's the first time I've seen that apex be taken this afternoon. No improvement there, but I think he's going to try and go for another flyer. 30 seconds to go. It is possible, but what about Iceburn Stopper? Makova has made a mistake as well and is caught in the gravel trap. Sad times for the American driver. And there you go. Juniper is disqualified for teleporting. She currently stands 5th place, but that's, of course, regarding improvements, maybe from Max Fenger, part of the Vanguard, or I think Max is part of the Vanguard racing team, but of course I don't have any confirmation on that as of right now. The checkered flag is out for the end of qualifying. Let's see where people are. Iceman Stopper has improved through Sector 2 on his overall lap time. What's it going to be? A 1:35.002. It's not quite a 1:34, but what does Andy Park have in response? He just got to the line in time. Victor Bernat confirmed 3rd place. Where is Sebastian Crow? Just coming through the final corner now, improving on his personal best. What is this going to be? Whoa, 200ths off from 3rd place there. So those two are very close together. Is Andy Park still currently? Yes, he's improving on the session best through Sector 2. So Andy Park could still have a chance at pole position here. It's not over till the car comes across the line. He's still improving. What can he do? Final corner now. Turn number 19 for the Alpha Tail car. And it's going to be... Oh, not quite. It is just a 1:35.117. So just over a tenth to the car behind. But Charlie got his car out of the gravel. But it's not going to matter much. Fenger didn't improve on that. So it will be Makova starting on, I would say, 5th position there. Because Lambertson won't be able to improve. But there you go, race starting in a few minutes there, as there we go, things begin just to work themselves out. And that is definitely not correct. But we know that Stopper is on pole position. Now, if you're still... let's see, oh. yes, sorry, if you could actually let me know, do I have to leave the session for the race as well, or can I just stay here? That's the only question I would have. Leave. Okay, so we have been given the order to leave the server, so we will do that now so that we can allow the race server to be started. At least join in when that is ready. Do just give me a little nudge when you can, when that's ready, and that will be appreciated. But otherwise, Sarah just giving us text help on this occasion. So we'll see. Of course, I am sure we will see her back in the commentary box before the end of the season. Moment now, we are just waiting for the race server to be loaded in, but it is Stopper on pole ahead of Andy Park. So, of course, additional points are scored in qualifying for the top 3. So that means that Stopper gets 3 points going his way. Andy Park gets 2 his way. And Victor Bernat in 3rd gets an additional point come his way as well. And of course, just in case, if you are a regular of AFR and you've just tuned in and you're wondering why we're looking at a calendar at the end of qualifying, it is because we are not running the Super Pole for this round. Only 9 drivers have attended. And so what we have decided to do is just not run the Super Pole so that we don't have people sitting in the pit lane just waiting for time to go by. And so just allows us to finish that little bit earlier as well. But not that that's the main concern here. A moment now, I think we should have the feature race server ready, so I'm just going to try and load into that right now for you. And yes, we are indeed. So I'm just going to cut back when we can. I'll just start sharing my screen with the co-commentator, who is going to be, of course, as I've said already, a silent observer. We have 22 laps of Kalinago coming your way coming your way in just a few moments' time. We've got everybody joining in. And now, okay. Look away if you do suffer from epilepsy. I do not understand how that happened, but here we go. We got that all sorted now. That was very briefly sorted. There you go. Hopefully that doesn't happen again during the race, but I will, of course, run through I'll run through who is where one last time once we've got everybody loaded in the session. So at the moment, let's go through and see. Oh, no, didn't want to do that. Let's see. Moment. So we got stopper on pole position. Of course, that's definitely not the car there. Here we are. So let's just run through this very quickly. So like I said before, your starting positions as they are right now, it is stopper on pole position with Andy Park in second. The two championship rivals separated by 8 points going into this evening. Currently start side by side with one another. Victor Bernat trying to get himself into third place in the championship and giving himself a comfortable gap to Victor, who of course, to Johan Karolczak, who of course is not here with us this afternoon. So Victor starts third place. Crow starts from fourth. Makova had contact with Captain Foxy earlier on in both qualifying and the sprint. We'll be hoping to avoid that as she starts fifth. Charlie Lambertson in sixth place. Fenger in seventh there. Anno currently starting eighth, of course, had to retire. Had a horrible sprint race, as did his teammate Captain Foxy. He'll be hoping that the feature race goes better for himself, as does Foxy, who starts ninth place and due to teleporting into the pits from contact with, of course, the driver we mentioned earlier, Juniper Makova. He starts at the back of the field. So all we have to wait for now is the countdown to the lights. I don't think we are going to be too far away from all of that, but 9 drivers looking to try and battle it out for the win, but realistically we all know that's probably going to be between Iceberg Stopper and Andy Park, and we'll see who will come out on top. We should be a couple of moments away from starting the race. The Assault Corsa logo hanging high on our 9 drivers, of course. Like I said before, Kalinago is a fictional track created for the purposes of Grade 1 racing. There is actually a WEC layout which can allow up to 60 cars on the track, but we are, of course, going around the Grand Prix layout, which, of course, consists of 19 turns, and it looks like the average lap time here, if you want to be the quickest, is, you want to be in and around the low 35s to high 34s. But, of course, some drivers in this league do not quite match that. So, of course, they usually finish down in lower positions. But battles up and down the field to be decided. But, of course, with these cars, it is a case of keeping your tyres cool and just keeping things... just kind of keeping things consistent. A lot of drivers do suffer from heating the tyres. And then, of course, you lose a lot of grip. I thought I heard somebody there, but I did not. So we might have a commentator and we might have a commentator coming our way, but again, I don't know. But we are about to get underway for the sprint. We're about to get underway for the feature. I thought we were not going to be too far away, but unfortunately, we are still waiting for the countdown to finish up. Usually about a 2 or 3 minute countdown from joining in the race, just to get your strategies in order, get your setups in order, do any, well, last-minute adjustments, but then again, you don't want to adjust too much going into the feature. You just kind of want to keep things consistent as they are right now. 22 laps to come your way, 19 turns every lap, and it should be underway very soon, as I keep saying. Of course, if you say it, it usually does happen at some point, even if the time does tick away. But remember, Stopper and Park separated by 8 points going into this afternoon. But here we go. We have the lights on screen. We should be counting down any moment now. Should mean 10 seconds. Here we go. 3, 4, 5, 6 red lights. It's going Kalinago, and that looks to have been a good start there from Iceman Stopper. Andy Park needing to use the push to pass, but look, 4 wide maybe into turn 1. Doesn't look like that came fruition, so somebody forced wide there through the first couple of turns, but it's all looking clean so far. Anno has been dropped to the back, and Foxy making a position there on Charlie Lamberson. Down the inside here, and somebody's been gone wide. That's Max Fenger. Foxy from 9th to 6th in the first couple of turns. Great start from the Italian driver as Fenger and Anno go side by side, and Anno makes up a place himself after losing out at the start there. So great work from the Wazoo team, but at the moment we are now going to look at the front of the field because this could decide the entirety of the afternoon. Lap 1, and Andy Park is right on the back of his championship rival Victor Bernat, not too far behind there, 6/10 of a second. But it looks like Stopper will have it all together as we come through down into turn 15 for the first time in this session. Looks like Stopper has got that all together. Looks like Park, though, got a better exit. Parker using another push to pass, as does Stopper. I think he knew that went all wrong, and Andy Park's trying to take advantage of it. He's got the slipstream now, as he is now at 3/10 of a second. Here we go. Can Park make a move into turn 19 on the first lap? He is very close indeed. Can he go for a lunge? Stopper just forcing himself to the right-hand side a little bit just to try and deter Park from making that move. Looks like that's where Makova has made a move in the background on Sebastian Crow, but looks like Makova went a bit wide on the exit of the turn there. So, no, sorry, Makova went a bit wide there. So Crow fights that back into turn 1. Round the outside, they still go side by side. And Juniper gets 4th place there, impressively so. Crow still decides to fight that back, and he gets a really wide cutback. That's brought Captain Foxy in the background into all of this. Crow last in the late back because that's against Captain Foxy, who overtakes Makova, but Foxy is outwitted by the American driver there, who's, oh, Makova, and crash! Oh, Makova, who was doing so well, has crashed it on lap 2, and that is very unfortunate. She is running a special livery in memory of her friend who she lost a couple of weeks back, but unfortunately, it has not been the race that she would have wanted. She does have a mandatory stop, and it will depend. Oh, no, she's in the gravel as well. And that's an early end to what was a very personal race for Juniper. That is a very sad sight to see, and that's heartbreaking. I can't lie to you about that. But Juniper will be back in 2 weeks' time. I can promise you that, and I promise you she'll be more determined than ever. Andy Park and Stopper for the fight for the lead are being forced to use their push to passes. They've already used 3 in just 2 laps. This is really intense stuff from the 2 championship rivals. They are in the same team, the Alpha Tails, who are actually in 3rd place in the constructors' standings as of right now, as Andy Park sets the fastest lap, but not close enough to have a go. And just giving you know, despite those 2 fighting very hard, Victor Bernat was still 6/10 slower than these 2. So Victor Bernat's not really been able to keep with this. He is just hanging on with that 1 second bubble. But of course, remember, these cars, as I've alluded to earlier, do not use DRS. And of course, as we've already alluded to as well, Captain Foxy made a move on Charlie Lamberston and has got himself up into 5th place. But Charlie put in the Italian driver under all sorts of pressure here. It's 4 seconds separating Foxy from Sebastian Crow. Well, sorry, no, it's 1.3 seconds separating Foxy from Sebastian Crow. And it looks like he's now got that gap to Charlie. It's increasing 10th by 10th, but Charlie's just able to keep up within the corners, it would seem. And Foxy's slowly losing ground to the car in front as Fenger uses a push to pass to defend from Anno. So these 2 having a bit of a fight, it would seem. Anno saving his push to pass, and if I was a driver in that position, I would honestly do the same, as Anno goes very wide beyond the white line and the curb there. I don't think that will be investigated from what I've seen so far, as now Anno down the inside of Fenger gets that move done. That was a really nice there, just kind of waiting for a mistake there from Max, and gets the move done. So he's now up into 7th place. Andy Park is the closest. He's been to Stopper in quite a, well, in the 3 laps we have ran so far. Stopper had forced into using a push to pass. Andy Park round the outside of his championship rival. Through turn 19 they go. Andy Park off the track. Victor Burnat's been allowed to catch up to this as Fenger and Anno make more moves in the background. Let's see how this is going. Max Fenger to the inside of 19. Anno forced to the outside. Can Anno do the cutback here? As Stopper hangs on to the lead of the race just to finish off that train. But now we move on to the battle for 7th place. And Anno gets the move done around the outside. But how will they corner turn 1? And Anno just cuts the nose off of Max there. And well, puts his authority on 7th place. He is now ahead of Max Fenger. The top 3 are separated by under a second as of right now. Of course, there is a mandatory pit stop to serve. I think refueling is a little... I think I got this wrong earlier on, but I think refueling is allowed. Sorry, there's someone who wants to speak. I do apologize. I'm not on Discord. But hello, Sarah. Well, nice to see you. Here's a battle for you.
Yeah, as we see Iceberg Stop and Andy Park going side by side finally on lap 4 with Bernard going right down the inside, making 3 wide for a moment, with Andy Park finally being able to make the move, and Iceberg Stop dropping right down to 3rd as they go on to the longest straight of the racetrack. I want to point your attention to something here. Iceberg Stop and Andy Park have a very specific setup where they only use the first 5 gears. For most of the track, they use only the first 4 gears actually, and that is the only straight where they will use 5th gear. I've tested their setup, and Andy has shared it with some of the other drivers, but they have found a meta, starting with well, they have only found it this season, after many seasons of this league running, as we see Anno going down the inside of the final corner of Max Fenger. But back to what I was saying, they have found a meta with the gears, so now they're only using the first 5 gears. So we see Fenger signaling a move down the inside, forcing Anno to go wide. That will be a track limit warning for him. Yeah, and those track limit warnings, we've seen those two go off track more than a few times now, so a few more will get them a 3-second penalty, which will be added to their race.
I'm so glad to have you here now, because in case I make a mistake, at least I've got somebody to rely on. Welcome into the commentary box, Sarah. It's good to have you along, even if it's just for this time in the feature. But what were your biggest takeaways coming from qualifying and the sprint there? Of course, Makova having an absolutely miserable afternoon, and it's heartbreaking for her because, like we've already said, running a special livery in memory of her friend this afternoon, and it just hasn't gone the way, but she'll be coming back in 2 weeks' time more determined than ever, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's definitely not gone the way she would have wanted, especially on a weekend where she hoped to honor her friend. But what she's told us is that livery will stay with her for the rest of the season. I'm hopeful, and I'm very sure that she will come back from this and have a good race or two in honor of her friend. And even if not, I'm sure she will be satisfied knowing that she fought every single lap that she was on track in that livery.
And we look forward to actually seeing that in full, of course. I would love to see it myself. When we actually find a way to fix deliveries here, but unfortunately, as you said earlier on off screen, you actually said this has been a recent bug, so hopefully we can find a way to iron that out. Pardon me. But of course, bringing attention, Foxy has also had a rather miserable afternoon so far. Actually made contact with Makova twice, once in the sprint and once in qualifying, but now up to 5th place. But has Charlie behind for company. Of course, that will be putting him under all sorts of pressure there. Foxy doing very well in the feature race so far. Just starting to make up for the time lost in both the sprint and quali.
Yeah, and one takeaway I've had from this race so far is how aggressive Andy Park and Iceberg Stop are going at it, because you saw them both deploying the push to pass right on the start, on the very start of the race, with such a short run to the first corner and a relatively high speed corner. You wouldn't even think they would try to overtake there, but they both felt like immediately deploying push to pass just to try to fight each other at the very first moment and maybe catch one another off guard. But seemingly they were on the same wavelength, and it's amazing to see them being so determined to make a move wherever they can, even if it seems very unlikely. they are still constantly looking for any gap to take advantage of the other person's mistakes, and it's amazing to see it because uh, these two are very, very talented drivers, and uh, you know, I've raced here for a few seasons, but I've never felt like I've properly been able to appreciate such an amazing and close fight for the championship, with two drivers who really want it more than anyone else. They practice for these races more than anyone else I've ever seen do for any sort of Formula race, and sure, I've not been here for half the history of this league, but it's it's been remarkable to watch.
No, same here, but like, you know, as you said before, remarkable to watch. Even at this current moment in time, it looks to have been that this is the season you would really want to tune in for. Of course, Andy Park did not get close enough last season out. Of course, that went to Iceberg Stopper. And so Andy Park just looking, well, coming back with a vengeance this season as well. And we'll see how, of course, the rest of the season plays out. But of course, like we keep saying, 8 points separating Park and, well, Stopper and Park, if you go in the literal championship order. And at the moment now, they are just kind of just taking their time. Now, of course, in terms of pit stops, how is this going to work?
So there is one mandatory stop for this league, and refueling is allowed, which means that usually the strategy is that they start with a certain amount of fuel, and they always add anywhere between 15 and 17 liters at the stop, because that is just about how long it takes for the tires to change, and they both get done simultaneously. In some cars, in a set of Corsa, the mod can determine whether those are done simultaneously or after one another. In this mod, it's done simultaneously, so they lose no time by refueling, and it's faster to refuel because the lower your fuel or the less fuel you have in your car, the lighter it is, and the lighter your car, the faster you go. So it's beneficial for them to start as light as possible while still being able to, sorry, I had to grimace a little bit as we saw Charlie go onto the grass in that chicane, lucky to keep it going in a straight line. But yeah, they will try to have their car as light as possible at all times in this race.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sarah, there for the insights. Lamberson with another mistake there, of course. Like Sarah said, nearly in the grass there, loses all sorts of momentum. That was our closest battle on track, but of course that'll be due to the dirty air that the Foxy will be producing. So Lamberson even, I did get his name wrong last season, and
It is Lambertson. It's misspelled in the server. It's Lambertson.
Lamberson. Okay, thank you. Sorry again. I don't know. I don't know what I'd do without you. In all honesty, like, you know, you do keep me sane, but like,
I keep up. This is my favorite league. I keep up with this league more than most people.
Absolutely, and as you should. You provided great. You always provide great information. I love your insights. And speaking of, now we are looking at Andy Park and Stopper still separated by just over a second there. Victor Bernat has been left behind by 2.3 seconds to Stopper, but that's 3.4 seconds to the leader, Andy Park here. And Lambertson was the closest driver on track, but due to the dirty air, has had to drop back and is now 1.7 seconds. So I imagine we will see those two go at it again. But remember, as Sarah said, there is a mandatory stop. So this means that this gaps might go separated out again. So who will be first to blink? That will be the big question on everyone's mind. Well, the battles we did see earlier on, is I think Anno made another mistake there. Looked like he's just got some gravel on his tires that he just needs to shake off. Well, one of the closest battles that we did see was between Anno and Fenger. Oh yeah, Anno's definitely struggling with something. He's definitely made a mistake earlier.
If he's not racing anyone, he's at least putting on a great show for the spectators doing those drifts.
And I don't think the spectators are looking in the right direction. I saw one facing us, and I'm like, no, the action is to your right, my guy. But there you go, Andy Park with the fastest lap of the race there, 2/10 ahead of Stopper. So Andy Park starting to increase that gap. Just have to be careful when you push. You got to keep those tires you can't overheat those tires, or else it might just end up being a major mistake. And I think that's where we've seen some mistakes coming from. What happens? What is that like when those tires overheat? How do you kind of get that back into control?
You just need to lean on them a little bit less, but with these cars, with how fast they are, you really need to drive them on the limit constantly, or you're losing a lot of time because they really depend on you carrying speed through corners and using the downforce to your advantage. But that also means that even if your tires overheat, usually you don't feel it that much unless they are really overheated, and then you might start losing to the rear a little bit. But it's on this track that they have the end of the second sector and the entire third sector to cool the tires down, as they are all all about just long straights and slow cars. So here they will cool the tires down and they should be fine coming into the next lap. But speaking on the strategy and tires, what has been added for this season, and we've talked about it in earlier races, is that the tire wear has been increased to provide more strategy. Usually, the undercut is not that strong, mainly due to the refueling, meaning that even though you count on fresh tires, which should be much faster than the old tires, you're also gonna put on more fuel, so you will suddenly be a little bit heavier than you were before you stopped. But even with that, you should be a little bit faster than you were before you pitted. So I wonder if Icebrand is going to try to undercut Andy here.
It would be worth doing. I mean, like you say, it's not that powerful, but like, you know, given the option, you might as well try and take it. We are now at the halfway point of the race, and the laps have ticked by very quickly. I'm actually impressed by how quickly this is going, but we are still got to fight on as Lambertson. I'm so sorry. That is really throwing me through a loop. Is now caught back up to Foxy, so I wonder if Foxy has made a small mistake somewhere. Half a second. This is our closest battle on track as of right now, with the second closest being the top two. Lambertson a bit wide there. Into, I think that is turn 10. Turn 10. Then it's 11 and 12 through here. So yeah, I got that right. Charlie just decided to not put that one in the grass this time around. Looks to have a good run on the Italian driver ahead, but at the moment not close enough to go alongside sorry, go on.
Yeah, he's not in the slipstream yet. The slipstream in Assetto Corsa is at exactly half a second. Now he's within that half second, and maybe if he uses a push to pass, he could get within that gap and get a really nice slipstream going into the last corner. But it seems like he's holding off for now, and maybe looking for a better opportunity on in the next few laps, as we see Icebrand stop and send the fastest lap as Victor Bernat goes to complete his mandatory pit stop at exactly the halfway point of the race, having done 11 laps on his first set of tires and going to the end for 11 laps on his new tires. And that is kind of one of the strategies you can go for. Another strategy that I personally always like to go for with the decreased tire wear compared to now was going until the fuel runs out and I have to stop because even though it's not optimal for in terms of the tires, it allowed me to have the lightest car at all times, which kind of made up for the tire wear a little bit. And as an added bonus, my second stint was always the fastest out of the entire field, just because I had the freshest tires and I had a light car with those fresh tires, so I was able to set fastest lap after fastest lap, and that was always the most satisfying feeling. But with the increased tire wear, I don't think that's the optimal strategy anymore, as Lambertson is now in the slipstream of Captain Foxy.
I just want to let you know, because I remembered this from when I was watching Foxy do a race in another league with these cars, is that he doesn't actually have a push-to-pass button enabled. So in actual fact, Lambertson, even though he is saving his push-to-pass, he does have one. The reason why you don't see Captain Foxy using one is because he simply just doesn't have a button assigned. So he is actually a bit vulnerable there, but I'm surprised Charlie just hasn't actually gone and used one as of right now. He could actually try and overtake the Italian driver, but wants to make this as clean as possible and not cost himself too much time, although I would say his battle is really realistically with the driver we are looking at right now. But then speaking of close battles, well, Stopper has now got into that 1 second bubble. Of course, no slipstream for the driver behind yet. Needs to make another couple of tenths, but will be suffering from the dirty air of the car behind. Of course, I'm trying to keep an eye on 2 battles here at once. Looks like the closest one is... Yeah, it's just still going to be between Foxy and Lamberson. All of a sudden now, we're approaching our first pit stop windows. Of course, Victor Bernat has already gone. Anno has just gone and done it. Well, starts his mandatory stop. 22 seconds behind Fenger as of right now. And who, well, just for your opinion, Sarah, who do you think is going to bite first? Will it be Park or Stopper?
I think Iceman Stopper is in position to potentially benefit from it because he's not that far behind him. And as I was gonna mention Iceman Stopper actually, we saw him 1 second behind Andy Park, and you could think that Andy Park was maybe just a little bit faster and pulling away, but in actual fact that gap stayed constant at 1 second, as he's now even in slipstream range now. But yeah, that gap stayed at 1 second the entire time, and they were saying identical outtimes as Andy Park makes a mistake on turn 2, which allows Iron Stopper to pull alongside, go ahead on the braking into turn 4, I think. And he completes the move around the outside. What a move, keeping a high speed around the outside of Andy Park, who had to keep on the inside and have a little bit of a slower run off the corner, which allowed Iceman Silva to make use of that incredible downforce of his Super Formula car and roar around the outside at a turn where you don't usually see overtakes like that, but mainly because of the corners before it, providing a lot of dirty air for the car behind. But due to the mistake that Andy Park did on his setup, which he himself labeled a little bit risky and difficult to drive, it allowed Iceman Stopper to grab his slipstream, and as Andy Park pulls to the inside to defend from Iceman Stopper, Iceman, completely unfazed by that move, just roared around the outside and took the higher speed and just blasted on the exit of the corner. But now Andy Park is in the slipstream, neither of them using push to pass and going into the final corner, David.
Here we go, turn 19, and well, they both go into the pits at the same time. So now, it's but a bit of contact between them, and Iceman Stopper gets a penalty for speeding, but I don't think that's going to be upheld. I think he was rather forced in by Park, so don't worry about that. I don't think that's going to count. I would say just ignore that for the time being. But in all of that battle, we also saw Lamberson make his mandatory stop as well. So he's now gone and try to go for the undercut on Captain Foxy. What does Captain Foxy do as Crow now into the pits? Well, Foxy decides to follow in on lap 15. By the way, I said Foxy didn't have a push to pass aside. He's gone and used 2, so he's evidently fixed that. Victor Bernat, where does he come out in all of this? Well, Park and Stopper are now ahead, and Park came out in the lead, and Stopper has to fall behind yet again. But of course, ignore the fact that that 3-second penalty is applied to Stopper. That should be, well, in the good faith of racing, should be removed, all things considered. Where is Foxy? All things considered, still in the pit lane. He's not been able to get out in time to be ahead of Lamberson. And now Foxy relegated to 6th position. So, and now he is 5-6 seconds behind. How much was he being a cork to Lamberson's race? That is very interesting, that. But now, Sarah, we have Andy Park ahead of Stopper, but I don't... Oh, no!
Has made a mistake.
Yes, he has.
Yeah, I was thinking about this because not only did Iceman get a penalty from Andy Park hitting him on the pit entry, as we see Bernat now trying to take advantage of that mistake, closing in rapidly, trying to have a look around the outside, but nothing doing there. But surely he will have the slipstream coming into the final corner, and look, Iceman is giving him the space on the inside and letting him through. It seems like, but yeah, not only did it cause Icebrand to speed into the pits, which I'm sure will be removed, but it also probably caused damage on the rear wing of Iceman Stopper. And look, now he's gonna come into the pit lane and try to fix that damage.
Unlucky spell for Stopper, and I think Park will be penalised for that. That has cost Stopper a lot of time and is now losing out on a top 3 and might be even a top 5. Lambertson might come to overtake. In fact, he is going to be close enough to have a go. Well, sorry, to have a go at 4th. But then again, what does Stopper have in the tank? Depends how quickly he can get this damage fixed. So Foxy might still have a chance at 5th place. But of course, Stopper is a driver you really shouldn't count out. So now all of a sudden it has become a race of damage control. And well, Andy Park's win not going to be upheld, I would not think. So that could mean Victor Burnett could be a winner as long as he stays within that window. But that's really eliminated the race at the top now. This is Andy's race to lose. But then, of course, that goes down to the stewards post-race.
And it's such a shame to see such an incredible race being extinguished like this, and it's even more painful to just have to say that the race will come down to the stewards' decisions to decide how big of a penalty the leader will get and how that will amend the race results. And because that's never something you want to see, and it's really a shame for spectators and commentators alike. But yeah, Andy definitely would not have done that intentionally, and it's it's a shame to make a mistake like that, especially when it affects your championship rival this severely, as Icebrand is now about 40 seconds behind Andy Park.
Absolutely. That, of course, as you say, they're championship rivals as well, so there's a lot of stakes in that as well. I'm just trying to see what else we could look at towards the end of the race. Of course, Victor actually has used all but one of his push-to-passes that he can use, and Crow is now starting to get a bit of a hurry-up on. I wonder if Victor has got a bit of damage, because that gap has come down to about 5 seconds from 6 seconds. And all of a sudden, we could have a very interesting race towards the end of this for at least 2nd place. It's just we won't have one for the lead of the race. But of course, we do think that Andy Park will have a penalty come his way. Not deliberate, of course. We will not say that. But unfortunately, it has extinguished the race all the same. And now Stopper, as Sarah said, 14 seconds behind Fenger alone. So that is a lot of time to make up with just 6 laps to go.
I just want to point out something
Yes.
that you said.
Mm-hmm.
Captain Foxy has used 4 push-to-passes. I think he has bound his button since.
Yes, I did say that earlier on, but yeah, no, just as a good reminder there, yes, I have been proven wrong yet again. Foxy making me looking a little silly here. 4 poster passes used for the Italian driver, and he is, well, trying to catch up to Lambertson, but Lambertson increasing that gap to now 8 seconds, and Andy Park with the fastest lap. So evidently, that is a 1:35.159, but evidently Andy Park knows what's at stake, and so he's just trying to really push as hard as he can to get that gap to Victor, and of course the other cars behind him as far as he can, so that penalty, so he can minimize the damage on the penalty. And in a good way, that's some good driving from Park as well. He's not playing it safe just because he's got, you know, over 10 seconds. You never know what that time penalty is going to be. What do you think the maximum would be if you had to guess? I know you are a steward here, so I know you have to be a bit ambiguous, but is there any estimations you could make just for us?
I don't think it's going to be more than a 10-second penalty. So right now, Andy is doing everything he needs to do to keep the victory. But yeah, it will leave a sour taste in his mouth, I'm sure, because not only is Icebrand his main championship rival, but he's also, those two are also very close off the track, and I'm sure they will talk it out after the race. And I know Andy will apologize, but yeah. And speaking of the battle for P1, we could also look back to the battle for P2, because Victor Bernard only has 1 push to pass, while Sebastian Kroll right behind him can use a push to pass every single lap, and maybe that might help him catch up a little bit. Though it is important to say that without the push to passes, those two seem to be perfectly matched on pace. So Sebastian Kroll will have to pull out a little bit more to maybe have a sniff at P2 of Victor Bernard, or maybe Victor Bernard could assist that charge with a mistake of his. But knowing Victor, I'm sure he will know what's at stake, and he will do everything to just keep it clean and finish right where he is right now.
He'll need to start matching, well, Crow, that is, will need to start matching this a second a lap. He's not quite there. He was half a second faster last lap around. We're on lap 19 out of 22, so 4 laps to go. He really needs to start getting the hurry up on, but I don't think there's enough time. And, of course, that one push to pass from Victor might just make the difference here with the gaps oh so close in terms of time remaining and, of course, distance between them. But this is really the only battle happening on track right now, and Andy Park's got that gap to Victor by nearly 12 seconds. So doing a very... So as Sarah alluded to earlier, good job from Andy Park in that regard. Anno, by the way, DNF'd quietly off track. We didn't catch that, but now it's Makova and Anno, your 2 non-finishers. So a bit of a shame for the Wazoo. They could have had a good... race here. Foxy now just flying the flag in his own race in 5th. Fenger not really influencing anything down in 6th, and Stopper, well, just kind of racing just to try and get fastest lap. It would be do you get an additional point for having the fastest lap here?
In the feature race, yes.
Okay, so I think it would just be worth a Stopper just to get some fresh tires on, maybe in the last couple of laps, and just to try and go for it, wouldn't you think?
If he cannot catch Finger in time, then yes, it would be beneficial. I think he has just about a lap to decide on that, as coming into the 21st lap, he will need to stop to be able to do a flying lap on his fresh tires. But if he can catch Finger and overtake Finger, that is that would add 2 more points to his tally. If he cannot do that, he can get an extra point for the fastest lap.
Stopper now using his push to pass here. We're going to keep an eye to see if he goes into the pits. And the update on the battle for second, 2.8 seconds separating them. It is very, very tight on time. Let's see what Stopper does. No, he thinks he can catch Fenger. I don't know about that one, to be honest with you.
He still has a lap if he wants to. Because he now sets the fastest lap, so proving you wrong immediately.
Oh, goodness me. It's not been a great weekend for my predictions, has it? I've got all sorts of things wrong. But anyway, Stopper sets the fastest lap of the race. And for the first time ever, we see a 1:34 from the driver here, who is not having a great feature race at all. And even, well, could have had a better sprint race. And now we'll cut to the battle for second place again. 2.4 seconds, a push to pass being used by Sebastian. There's Victor at the front of your frame there, and there's Crow right at the back. But does Crow have enough time? I don't think so, and that one push to pass looking all the more handy now for the Spaniard, as we now these two will start lap 21 out of 22. 1:35.6 for Sebastian, 1:36 for Victor, and now under 2 seconds. So it needs to be a second a lap from here on out, but of course the dirty air will start proving a bit of a problem once he gets under that, well, gets into that 7/10 range, then 9/10 range. Keep an eye on that. But Sarah, this could come down to the very end, and this is actually kind of building up to something exciting, hopefully.
Yeah, right now I'm curious to see if Icebrand goes into the pit lane to try to secure his fastest lap, but it seems like he hasn't done that, as I think just about now he's gonna be crossing the line. Yeah, he's not going for the pits. He's preparing himself to possibly be in the right position at the right time in case something happens in front of him with Max Finger or possibly someone else. But yeah, that would be really the main risk he would take if he tried to go for the fastest lap by going on fresh tires. Right now he still has the fastest lap, but that can still definitely be taken away by the likes of Andy Park, really. But yeah, I'm really interested to see how close Sebastian Crow can get, because I don't think at this moment he is close enough to catch him even on the final lap, though in this lap he's gained an entire second on him. But crucially, Bernard has saved a push to pass for this exact moment, so it's gonna make it even more difficult for Sebastian Crow to take any advantage as we now go onto the final lap with Andy Park already about a sector ahead of these two, fighting for second place.
1 second separates them. It needed to be a second a lap. He's got and done that and more. And Victor making a mistake here. The gap goes to 7/10 of a second very briefly. Crow should have the better exit, but Victor did something there just to keep the cars just over that 1 second bubble. Of course, these cars do not have a DRS system. It's just push to pass. And, well, Victor has saved it for this lap alone. And Crow has as well, has been burning through them lap by lap. And now 1.2 seconds. As all you can see the struggles with the dirty air already. Very wide through turn 11. And I think that's going to call off the charge. To be honest with you, as Max gets a 3-second penalty for corner cutting, and all of a sudden Stopper now could be looking at gaining a position there. He's got under that 3-second window, or is at least very close to it. Yeah, I think he's going to have that position surely towards the end of the race. So actually waited for Max to make a mistake. But look at this. Andy Park through the final corner. Bit of a tap towards his championship rival in the pits, but he'll win for now in Kalinago, as now Victor has been able to hold off Sebastian Crow. It was very close, but in the end, the final lap was his final corner. Victor Burnett second, Sebastian Crow third, and Lambertson in the end wins the battle between himself and Captain Foxy by over 10 seconds of a distance. He approaches the final corner now, and he will secure 4th place. Good race from Charlie here in Kalinago. And there you go. And Foxy, well, it's been a bit of a disappointing afternoon for the Wazoo Racing team, but he will at least come across the line in 5th place and, well, at least finishes the feature. And then Fenger, of course, with a 3-second penalty, he will have to relinquish 6th place to Icebrand Stopper, who in the end gets an additional 3 points if you consider he does have the fastest lap of the race. And there you go. That 6th place is now taken away. So, yeah, Icebrand Stopper again with a 1:34.566. That just shows you how hard he was pushing towards the end there. But in the end, it was a bit quiet, but still, there was a lot. Oh, as Icebrand Stopper also had a 3-second penalty due to his... That's his pit lane. But, of course, we expect that to be removed, more than likely.
And the amazing thing is that in the end, not pitting for the fastest lap proved to be the better option, just only because Max Fenger got that 3-second penalty for corner cutting. So in the end, it proved to be the most more beneficial option, and he took the right path really to secure as many points as he can from a round that really did not go his way due to one small error from his championship rival in the pits.
Absolutely. And yes, like we said, yeah, absolutely. So Stopper losing heavy ground, and I do think that means Andy Park will be the leader of the championship. His win should be upheld considering the absolutely magnificent gap he pulled out, but also just towards the end of this race as well. I do just want to say, Teo, who has been with AFR since Season 8, has just finished his last race direction. We haven't been hearing it due to the fact that the TeamSpeak server is currently down, but he has now, of course, ending his tenure with AFR as a race director. And we just want to say a massive thank you for all his work in the league, and we do wish him all the best going forward in whatever role he takes going forward. But 22 laps of Kalinago have been completed. We have Andy Park at the top of the field with Victor Burnett second and Sebastian Crow in 3rd place. Kalinago. There you go. Yeah, Sarah having to correct me yet again. Good point. Kalinago. But anyway, there you go. Round 6 has concluded. We should be having podium interviews in just a second. But of course, to just go through the rest of Season 13, which I am sure, with things going between Icebrand Stopper and Andy Park, is going to go right down to the wire. We have got Valencia next week, followed by Indian... Well, no, not next week, sorry. In 2 weeks' time, on the 8th of June, we will have Valencia. And then in 2 weeks' time after that, on the 22nd, we will have Indianapolis. Then it's off to Las Vegas in July. And then to conclude Season 13, it is a finale in Suzuka. And of course, an iconic track for what began as the Formula Nippon now is named as the Super Formula. So, Well, we're gonna have some post-race interviews, I would hope. And here we go. We can now pull in our winner of today's race. Bit of a controversial moment, but it all came out in the wash in the end. Andy Park, congratulations on your win. How did that go for you?
Part of me is it's I'm happy that I broke the curse of this winning drought that I summed myself into, that I drowned myself into. So many races, so many bad results. Sometimes my fault, sometimes not my fault. Technical issues, controller issues, screen issues. Just everything coming down to not make it very convenient. It doesn't happen too often. But the fact that I was able to get some points today, well, some points, I won the race, but I'm mostly sad. I can't really celebrate it too much because I really expected Icebrand to come across as well. So I'm gutted for the result he had. I didn't want to win like this. Could have been better.
Of course, that is going to be a very big talking point post race. We think, according to Sarah, is that you do have a comfortable enough gap. So if you do have a post race penalty coming your way, the gap is significant enough for that to not matter too much. So you should keep the win. But as you said, not really the way you wanted to win it. Can you just explain it from your point of view? What happened?
Well, the first moment I think was that Icebrand is normally quicker on the as the race progresses. The setups that I drive normally fall off way more than his setups. So the more the race goes, I could keep the 1 second gap through the through most of the first half, but I began making issues. I would say because of the pressure, but I think the car didn't do enough race simulations to properly predict how the rear would handle in those moments. And a send off in turn one just kind of spiraled into a bit of contact, and then the pit incident, which yeah, was unfortunate in the end. I just tried to make my pit box, and then I don't know if he had enough wing damage for the issue he had to be the fault of his wings. But yeah, I think that's mostly what happened. The going off in turn one and just snowballing into this huge contact between us.
I do want to ask because you mentioned the setup. We first noticed it in Silverstone a few weeks ago with Nicodem. When and how did you find out that it's faster to not use sixth gear?
Fun story actually. Well, you know sports is all about having fun, of course. But if you're given a base and if there's any way I can extract some milliseconds out of it, I am going to try to do it. So when I was training at Solarstone, I began getting some information about the torque of each gear, how could I improve my corners, etc., etc. And I found out that the performance delta through a lap didn't go down all that much. But the main point where I really noticed it was Magny course, because I like to run very locked differentials because I like the rear wheels being happy upon throttle. So if I can abstain myself from using more gears because there is quite a time loss, like 3/10 of a tenth, if I can just not use an extra gear and have enough of a long gear so that every time I use the throttle it spins, but I still have it way more. I mean, way a lot of speed, so I don't lose the time too much. I decided to keep the gears that way.
And finally, incidents aside, I do want to ask how was it racing on this track and what went into the decision of using push to pass on the very first straight?
Uh, yeah, that was a controversial one, I think. After some racing, I noticed that through turn 6 and 7, uh, you lose a lot of time being behind. And I know that Victor Bernat likes to make moves very quickly on. So, but by what I know from Iserbrand's pace, if I let him alone in P1, I wouldn't have been able to catch up to him. He's untouchable on PO pace. Probably even more than me, as it's been shown in the last qualifying sessions. It's been quite a while since I've sat on pole. So it was either take the lead on turn one or spend 450,000 laps fighting against Victor, and that wouldn't have been very productive for the championship fight.
And one last question from me,
Mhm.
unless Dave has another question, but I want to ask,
Okay.
how comfortable are you on street circuits? Because in 2 weeks' time, we will be going to Valencia street circuit.
Oof, Valencia is like my favorite track in the world. Second, probably. It's fighting up there with Melbourne. But I have experience from Valencia all the way back in 2022, 2023. Maybe I'm yapping and the track hadn't even released back then. But it's at least 2 years that it's I think it's the race where I got my first ever podium in a sim racing league. So it has a lot of feelings for me. Also, the track being Spanish, which is like the closest thing I have to a home race. So I expect to do well, especially now that that sadly I was able to get the point advantage. I have to hold it. Sadly, not much I can do about it. Well, that's it from my side.
Well,
Dave,
Andy, I
do you
don't
have any
really have.
questions?
Sorry, go on, Sarah. I think you were trying to say
I was
something.
going to ask if you have any questions.
No, I
Same
really
thing.
don't have anything further to ask, to be honest. Sorry, you kind of covered off anything I wanted to ask, so I just want to say, Andy, wasn't the way you would have wanted to it, but regardless, congratulations on a win, and we can't wait to see how this championship unfolds going forward. Thank you so much for taking our questions, Andy.
Thank you to amazing interviewers. I hope to be here next race. Hopefully.
Probably won't be here due to work schedule, but you'll see me in about a month's time.
Yo.
uh,
Okay.
I'll see
Take
you in
care, you guys.
Indianapolis.
It's been
Is it
good.
Indianapolis after? What's it? Yes, it is. It is. All right. I'll see you in Indianapolis.
Bye.
Bye for now.
Bye, Sarah. Bye, David.
Bye bye.
Thank
All right. We are now going to bring in Sebastian Crow. Third place. That was quite a race from you. Congratulations, Sebastian. How do you feel about that?
I actually feel pretty decent, actually. Pretty good. First podium in AFR. I really did not expect it. I felt so slow the entire practice and everything. And then Andy shared his setup and suddenly I found a second. And then I was decent. So
We
honestly, he's the GOAT for sharing that. He's the
he
reason I got P3 today.
And we were just kind of talking to Andy, just a few moments ago about his setup. What was kind of one of the things you had to adjust to with it? Was there any sort of challenges you found with it initially that you had to get over, or was it just kind of you just gelled with it from the get-go?
Honestly, the only thing I did was move the brake bias a bit forward, lower the downforce level, and it was perfect for me. It drove much more like I drive other cars then. So it just more naturally came to me. So it was a lot better.
Mhm.
I heard from people that they said it was going to be super oversteer, but honestly, if anything, I had to add a front wing click to it. So yeah, it was pretty good. It really worked well for me.
And
Uh,
Sarah's got a question. Go ahead.
how was it chasing Victor Bernat down in the final laps, and did you believe that you could possibly catch him?
I did kind of believe that I could at least catch up at the time. I saw that it would be very close, so I didn't think I'd actually pass because of dirty air and the fact that there would just be one lap. But it seems like he was, at least he told me after, he was just chilling, and he would have then just probably sped up if I got really close behind him. So at the time, I tried to push for a chance, but I didn't really think I would get past unless he had low fuel or something. That was kind of what I was thinking. He had to do a little lift and coast or something, but that wasn't the case.
I also want to ask you the same question that I asked Andy. How comfortable are you on street circuits, and how do you feel about keeping it close to the walls? Because in the next round, in 2 weeks, we will be racing at Valencia Street Circuit. How do you feel about that round?
I haven't driven at Valencia, but in general, just because of how I drive, I tend to be quite safe. I tend to do pretty well at street circuits where others don't. That's kind of I don't go super quickly, but I don't lose much pace compared to a normal circuit, and then others kind of do or make more mistakes. At least in my experience, that's not always the case. That might not be the case next week, but I think it could be all right. I think so.
Dave?
Yes, just one last question from myself. In terms of strategy going into Kalinago, I just want to ask, did that sort of change on the fly as the positions were coming around, or did you actually stick to a strategy that you initially gone with? Just kind of talk us through that.
Yeah. So I tend to like to overcut a bit or go a bit longer. I don't like to pit very early. I don't know why. It's just because the fuel goes down, even though the tires where it actually stays okay. And I like to go. I like to have a last stint where you can really push on the tires and the fuel. So, and I kind of stick to that, to be honest. I mean, I didn't pit super late, but I didn't pit early either. It was like lap 15 or something, 16 maybe. So kind of late, to be fair. And that's probably part of the reason why I was able to catch Victor so much to the end. It's because he picked kind of early as well, so his tires weren't as good. And I felt really confident in the car in that last stint on low fuel. So I was like beating my quality time or something. Sure, I had pushed to pass, but I felt really strong still.
Sebastian, thank you so much for taking our questions this afternoon, and thank you, well, and again, thank you for giving us a good race there towards the end. It's been very good to talk to you, and hope to see you on the podium in Valencia, but I'll, of course, officially be back in Indianapolis in a month's time, so see you then.
Yeah, thank you guys for commentating and streaming. It's always nice to have that. We'll see you in Indy then.
All right then. That is all from the post-race interviews. We haven't had Victor come in, so we're not going to be able to chat to him. But of course, as a reminder, he did get second place. No, sorry, Where did he?
You were correct. Second place.
So Victor was second place. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So that means I've got all sorts of mixed up.
1 second ahead of Sebastian.
Yes, that is correct. Bleh. Wow, I got absolutely all confused.
You can
there.
take a break now.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna sort of log off just while we're in a good flow of things. But Sarah, thank you so much for coming in during the feature there and just helping out a little bit with the commentary. It was great to have you as always, and I do hope to see you again once I'm back in AFR in about a month's time from Indianapolis.
Of course, I'm glad I was here, and yeah, I'm impressed with how every single race it feels like there's a new story to talk about, even if it's not about a massive battle going until the final lap, but there's instead we have a massive story going through the entire season from round one and seemingly not stopping, and it just feels like it's gonna go until the very final race, doesn't it?
Absolutely, like we keep saying, the difference between stopper and park is just absolutely nothing. It mostly depends on the track. Like, you know, Andy, of course, who alluded to us earlier, is absolutely fantastic at Valencia. It's his favorite circuit in the world, like he said. So I think he's going to be very strong around there and very tough to beat. But of course, stopper, don't count him out either. Like, you know, he could still pull in a surprise before the end of the race. So you just never know, to be honest with you. But Sarah, I think we're going to go and sign things off. There is another iconic race happening in a while. The Indy 500 is currently on. So I think we shall allow everyone to depart. And then if they want to check that out, they should go and check that out. But Sarah, thank you again for co-commentating with me.
Thank you as well.
All right, then. So, as I've already alluded to earlier on, we're going to say goodbye to Sarah now, and I'll begin my sign-off. So, Sarah, again, bye, and we'll see you in a month's time. Okay, and now all that leaves me to say is, from everybody here at AFR, including the admins, the stewards, and the drivers, we say thank you so much for watching. If you do want to see more of the action throughout Season 13, please do hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notification, click that like button, and, of course, by hitting the bell, you will be notified when we next go live. We hope to have a commentator for you in Valencia, but, of course, I will be officially back with you in Indianapolis. Which of course I'm sorry to miss out on that one, but on Spain. But of course I will be looking forward to Indianapolis. And speaking of Indianapolis, there is an Indy 500 to check out. So I'm gonna sign it off here. Thank you all so much for watching, and from wherever you may be in the world, we wish you a very good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. Stay safe, stay alive. See you in a month. From myself, see you in a month's time. Bye for now.